So my friends, today we will discuss about bond valuation. Okay, this is part of your corporate finance area, and I hope you remember what is a bond. We have already done an essay question in which we discussed about it, right? So bond is a liability, right? What is a bond? Bond is a liability, okay, which you write in your non-current liabilities, right? The interest payments going on bond will come in current liabilities and they are my expenses also. Now see, we need to calculate cost of capital, remember. So when we calculate cost of capital, we need to know what makes up our capital. For example, it can be your common shares, it can be your loan, bank loan, right? It can be your preference shares, it can be your bonds, it can be your irredeemable preference shares. It can be convertible shares. So many types of instruments are there in your capital structure. Okay, this is called your capital structure, that from where you have taken the finance. So we have already discussed and we have already seen how we will calculate weighted average cost of capital, remember? So you will say, okay, this much is my equity, for example 60%, this much is my debt, for example 40%. How much is the cost of equity, how much is the cost of debt, and then you take the ratios. And for cost of debt especially, you do 1 minus t, remember, you take out the tax portion because it is tax deductible, and you get your weighted average cost of capital. Okay, so basically now today we are going to do an essay question, okay, which is like this one, okay, 2.4. Now in this question they will ask you, they have given you bond, if you can see here, can you see this bonds? Okay, they are saying there is no other debt or preferred stock. Very nice. Then we have common stock. Getting it? So in this question we have two sources of finance. One is bond, the other one is common stock. Now if you remember, we have already studied capital asset pricing model, right? When we use capital asset pricing model, remember, to calculate the cost of capital by using your remember beta, we use beta. So it was risk-free rate plus market rate minus risk-free rate into beta. We have already done this before, right? Now my friends, the point here is what we are going to learn today, new things. What are those new things? How to calculate the cost of capital of bond, and how to calculate the cost of capital of common stock through another method which is called dividend growth model. Okay, so today basically mainly you will learn two new things. One, how to calculate the cost of capital of bond, okay, which is basically cost of debt, you can say, and how to calculate the cost of equity by using dividend growth model. Now see, how you will know that which model to use, because we have already discussed about the capital asset pricing model before. Remember, we have already discussed about it, the capital asset pricing model, by using which we calculated the cost of capital, which is also called the hurdle rate. Remember, hurdle rate we talked about in the last class also in the essay questions. So we have to read the scenario. What we have to do, we have to read the scenario. So scenario will tell us which model to use. Examiner will not tell you, scenario will tell you. Okay, let's see. Now see, here they are saying you, first of all let's read the requirements. The requirements are, number one, calculate weighted average cost of capital. So you know very well the concept about weighted average cost of capital, we need to calculate it. Okay, Then they are giving you some projects A till F, okay, around 6 projects, and they are saying which project should be accepted. I hope you remember we have done this type of exercise before when we were doing investment decisions. Okay, we will do again, don't worry. And then they are saying provide a brief defense of the decision criteria, okay, that you have used in arriving at your recommendations. So you can see very well in this question they have given you 6 projects. They have given you IRR as well as NPV. So when we will tell them which project you should select, so definitely either we will tell them use IRR or we will tell them use NPV. So this is what he is talking about. So if you remember, we have already discussed in detail about NPV and IRR. We have calculated them also, remember, in investment decisions. If you remember, please write yes in the chat box. If you don't remember, go back and revise all the videos of investment decisions. Okay. So that's why, revision is very important, I told you. Because see, all topics are interrelated with each other. So you should know how to calculate NPV, how to calculate IRR, what is IRR, what is NPV, what are the advantages of NPV, what are the disadvantages of NPV, and same for IRR also, same for payback also. Okay. This is highly examinable area, by the way. Must question in exam. So, I mean, they are asking you in requirement number 2 that which decision criteria you are using. You should give a defense, you should justify. For example, I will use NPV, so I have to justify why I used NPV in making this decision and I ignored IRR. So I hope you remember from your previous knowledge which we have done in investment decisions that you will evaluate based on NPV, because NPV is a better measure as compared to IRR. IRR will sometimes give you conflicting results, but NPV will give you a better result as compared to IRR, because IRR is only talking about what is the rate at which NPV is 0. Getting the story? So I mean, it's not clear. Even you cannot conclude only on the basis of IRR. If NPV is given to you, you should better analyze from NPV point of view. So this is very basic question, easy question. You will just see which project is giving you more IRR, that is the top one, and the one which is giving you minus, that is the lowest one, right? So this is very simple question number 2. Number 3, they are saying they are giving you a project X. Apart from A till F, they have given X. Okay, this paragraph is talking about X, this one. You see here, the firm is also evaluating. State whether the firm should use the weighted average cost of capital to evaluate this project. So remember last time we discussed same question in that scenario also. So we said, okay, we can use the company's hurdle rate, we can use the company's cost of capital only if the new project is also having the same type of risks. Getting the story? I mean, same line of business, same risk. If the new project is having different risks, you cannot use the company's cost of capital to evaluate that project, because the company has different risks and the new project has different risks. Getting the story? Write yes in the chat box if you got the point. So my friends, what we need to do, remember, we used to calculate beta. We used to use beta. We used to put beta in capital asset pricing model to get a new hurdle rate. If beta is more than 1, it means the project is more risky. If beta less than 1 means the project is less risky. Okay, because you know very well that the more the rate, the less the NPV. Okay, I am just reminding you for that. We have already discussed in detail about all this. We have done sensitivity analysis in Excel sheet. We have changed the rates. What is the impact on IRR? What is the impact on NPV? All this we have done. So you should go back and revise investment decisions. Anyways, so we will see. I mean, of course, we will answer here depending on the scenario. If the scenario is saying that project X has same risks like this company, so we will say okay, no problem. You use the company's hurdle rate to evaluate project X. But if in the scenario it is mentioned that project X is different project, I mean not relating to the company's business, new risks are there, so we cannot use the company's hurdle rate. This will be the answer. Getting it? So we have to adjust it for the systematic risk. Remember? Can you write in the chat box how we adjust for systematic risk? We discussed this last time. How we adjust for systematic risk. And what is systematic risk? Remember, systematic risk is market risk. It cannot be diversified. Remember, systematic risk cannot be diversified. Right? How we handle it? Remember, we do some calculation. What is that calculation? That is called beta. What is that? Beta. You incorporate beta to handle systematic risk. Getting it? And that's what they are doing ahead. If you see requirement number 4, they are saying you based on the analysis of two firms with operations similar to project X. K has determined that the project's beta is how much? 2. Please write yes in the chat box. Beta of 2 means high risk or low risk? Very nice. Beta of 2 means this is high risk project. Okay. And you know very well that when I will use 2 in the capital asset pricing model, we use beta, right? So when I will put 2, so the rate will go up. Getting it? The hurdle rate which will come will go up. When the rate will go up, NPV will go down. So maybe this project will give me negative NPV. Getting the story? So this is the relationship, right? So then they say, okay, risk-free rate is 10%, market premium 15%. Can you tell me why they are giving you this information? Risk-free rate is 10%, market premium is 15%, why they are giving you this information? Excellent. So that we can use capital asset pricing model. Can you see here in requirement number 4, can you find for me anywhere they have written for you, please use capital asset pricing model? No. Getting it? This is what I was telling you. You have to select the model. Sometimes they will tell you, like in previous questions, but most of the times they will not tell you. So by using the information in the question, you have to yourself analyze which model to use. So whenever you have risk-free rate, whenever you have premium, whenever you have beta, these 3 things if you have, you can easily use capital asset pricing model, which we have done 2-3 times before already. Getting it? So we will again use it. We will calculate the hurdle rate for this project X, and we will calculate net present value for this project. Getting it? Because they are asking you, see, calculate the net present value and then provide recommendation whether this should be accepted or not. What you will do? If the NPV will be positive, it means you will accept it. If the NPV is negative, you will reject it. Getting it? So basically, there is one more insight for net present value. Whatever hurdle rate will come, okay? So when we use that hurdle rate to evaluate the project, it means we are trying to see that this project will give you how much extra than a project which is having that much hurdle rate already in use. Getting it? I mean, for example, if NPV is $1,000 positive, it doesn't mean it will give you $1,000. It means that this project will give you $1,000 extra than other projects which are having that hurdle rate. Getting the story, my friends? This is the idea behind NPV. Okay? If NPV is minus 5,000, it doesn't mean it will give you 5,000 loss. It means it will give you 5,000 less return than other projects which are having the same hurdle rate based on this risk and all these factors. Please write yes in the chat box if you got the point. So my friends, this is question number 4. Okay. 5. In the past, the firm has typically used payback. See, they are asking payback also for evaluating the risky projects, and they accept projects with a payback period less than 3 years. Okay, we have done this already in investment decisions. This is a revision here. So, okay, we will see project X. If its payback is less than 3 years, we will say, okay, accept it. Right? Getting the story, my friends. Please note, they are not asking discounted payback. They are only asking you payback. It means simple payback. Remember I told you before? If they are silent, if the examiner is silent, it means they are asking simple payback, basic calculation, not discounted payback. So, 6th, provide one reason why using the payback period can result in the firm making a suboptimal decision. So you know very well, we discussed about it. Remember, we talked about limitations of payback period. So you will say, okay, payback period is not considering all the cash flows. Remember, because you are just stopping right there where you see your money you got back, your initial investment, that's it. You stop there. You don't look ahead. You don't look for the upcoming cash flows. Getting it? So this will give me suboptimal decision or not? I mean, for example, in requirement number 4, assuming I get negative NPV. So what I will say don't accept this. In requirement number 5, assuming I got answer 2 years, maybe. Getting it? So definitely we will recommend you should accept it, because you know, as per payback threshold, you should accept it because less than 3 years. But do you think we will accept it? Because that is giving a negative NPV. So we will say, although you are recovering your money within 2 years, but this project will give you negative NPV. So we will not accept it. Getting the story? So that's the reason you will mention in requirement number 6. Okay, so this is the conclusion of my discussion, intro discussion of the essay question. Okay, so one reason why payback will give you suboptimal decision. Very nice. So let's start the scenario now. So I already told you, my friends, in this question we have two sources of finance, bond and common stock. So we have to do two workings to get our cost of capital. The company is a logistics and transportation company. The finance director, his name is John. Okay, is in the process of evaluating a number of proposed capital investment projects. The following information relates to the firm's finances. Now please note here, this question is a combination of investment decisions and corporate finance. Okay, as I told you, they will mix different concepts together. And by the way, corporate finance and investment decisions are closely related topics. So most probably, if you receive an essay question, they will test both the topics. Okay. Now see, they are saying you they have issued 10,000 bonds, each with a face value of $1,000 and paying an annual coupon rate of 9.2%. Okay, we already discussed before. If you remember, I told you what is par value, what is coupon rate, what is interest rate. Remember what is face value. We discussed this in previous classes already. Please write yes in the chat box if you remember that. Okay, we discussed about par value, face value, coupon rate, interest rate, all these things. Remember? There was a question before. Very nice. Now see, coupon rate means interest rate. You give them how much per year? You give them 9.2% interest per year. Getting the story? How much is the face value? Remember I told you, this interest is calculated on face value or not? If I ask you how much annually I will give them interest, how much I will give them? Tell me. How much I will give them? I will give them 9.2% of 1000. Remember I told you what is the use of face value? What is the use of par value? We use it to calculate interest. Right? Or not? And that will be paid when the maturity will come. So we will say, okay, you gave us $1,000 5 years back. Thank you so much. This is your $1,000 now. Getting the story? So every year you will pay them around I think $92, right? 9.2% of 1,000 if you take, it will come how much? $92. Getting the story, everyone? Now see, they are saying these bonds are now trading at 1040 per bond. What is this? This is called market value. What is this? This is called market value of the bond. So if you want to sell this bond, you go to the market and you sell it, I mean at 1040. So don't you think this is good idea to sell this bond? Yes. Yes, my friends. This is a good idea, right? I mean, if I need my money, I will just go in the stock exchange and I will sell my bond for 1040, because if I will wait, I will get 1000 after 1 year. But by the way, remember, I will also get interest, $92 also. Getting it? Now let's see, I mean, how much is the duration left for this bond? So they say a coupon payment on these bonds was made yesterday. Just yesterday you paid $92. Bond will mature next year. It means 1 year is remaining. How much is remaining? 1 year is remaining. Getting the story, my friends? If 1 year is remaining, it means that after 1 year, in this 1 year, I mean, I will pay them how much? Tell me. Tell me in the chat box. In this 1 year, I will pay them how much? Yes. I will pay them the interest or not for the next year. Right? Very nice. I will pay them 1092. 1000, which is the capital amount, plus $92 interest. So total I will pay them how much? 1092 next year. Remaining payment is 1092. So my friends, if you remember, we did present value. Remember present value? So we say, okay, right now, we say, we will give, this is present value, 1040 is what? Present value. I came to you, I said, okay, I will give you $1040 for this bond. Give me this bond today. Right? It means 1040 is the present value or not? Tell me in the chat box. Now 1040 is what? That is present value. Of what? Of a future value, which is 1092. 1092 is a future value, which will come next year. Getting the difference? So definitely, I mean, I cannot say that today I will pay you $1092. Give me the bond. Impossible. Think about it. I mean, will you do this? Will you do this? Never. I mean, you will say, okay, this guy will receive 1092 after 1 year. Why I will pay him now 1092 and get this bond? What I am getting? What's benefit for me? Nothing. Getting the story, my friends? So you are in a hurry. You said, okay, Habibi, take this bond, give me 1040, right? So he got the money. Now it's like factoring. Remember factoring in receivables? You sell your receivable to someone for a lower amount, and then it's the headache of the factor to collect the money later on, which will be more basically. Like in this case, it is 1092. So he will wait for 1 year and he will get 1092. But I got my money right now for 1040. Getting the story, everyone? Please write yes in the chat box. So my friends, what's our target here? What's our target basically? If I ask you what is cost of capital, for that I need two things. I need cost of debt. I need cost of equity. So remember in the start I was telling you we will discuss two new things today, which is cost of debt for the bond and cost of equity from dividend growth model. Getting it? This is the two things you will learn today. So for this bond, basically what I need is, I need to know at what rate that future value is discounted to give me a present value of 1040. Let me write for you. So my friends, I am trying to say you in simple terms, if you are with me, I am trying to tell you that present value is equal to future value, right? And I can say 1 plus r minus n. Getting the story? I mean, to convert this future value into present value, I need to discount it. Remember, we use normally this factor. Remember, the present value factor table and annuity table, all these things we have done already. So this is the formula to calculate that rate. Right now, what I am looking for is this rate. This rate. This rate is my cost of debt. We write like this: cost of debt, KD, cost of debt. Okay. And once we will get this cost of debt, we will do it 1 minus t. You know this very well. We will remove the tax portion. Getting the story, everyone? Okay, which is 30%. See here, 30% is the tax rate. So my target is now to put here, 1040. Getting it? To put here 1092. Got it? And then, if you want to do like this, fine, but otherwise, you have a simple calculator, and I have already told you how to use simple calculator to calculate the present value factor. Remember or not? I hope you remember. So can you tell me how? I mean, I need this rate now. I need this rate. This rate is my answer. So please tell me how much is this rate. Solve this equation and tell me how much is this rate. Okay, so my friends, if you want, what you can do is, instead of writing like this, because scientific calculator is not allowed. So what you will do is, you will do like this. Present value is equal to future value divided by 1 plus r n. Very simple. I mean, minus n, if I take it above and I multiply it, it will become minus n. If you take it as a divide, it will become like this. So now see, I need r. Okay, and n already I told you, n is 1. Why n is 1? Because remember they told you that the bond will mature next year. So there is 1 year remaining. So we will say 1 year. So how we will calculate it? Very simple. How much is the present value? It is 1040, right? This is the market value right now. Future value we already calculated. It is 1092. 92 is the interest and 1000 is the principal amount which you will pay them back within 1 year. Divided by 1 plus Rn. Okay, n is 1, so no need for n now because it's 1. Power 1, no problem. Right? Now, if I need R, what I will do? I can do one thing, right? I mean, I can take it in the place of 1040 and I can bring this 1040 over here. So what I will do? I will say, okay, 1 plus R is equal to 1092 divided by 1040. Right or not? Right? I mean, I replace them. Now it's very simple for you. I mean, you can easily solve it. Let me find some space here. I will solve here below. So how much is 1092 divided by 1040? It is 1.05. How much? 1.05, right? So I will say, okay, 1 plus R is equal to 1.05. Now I need R. What to do? To get R, I will take this 1 on the other side or not? So that will become 1.05 minus 1. So basically R will be 0.05. Right or not? And 0.05 means what? How much in percentage if I want to write in percentage? Getting the story, everyone? Okay. So how much is in percentage? 5%. Excellent. Okay, I am not sure how you are getting 5.2. It's exactly 5%. Okay. Anyone else is getting 5.2? I don't think so. Anyways, so it's 5%, right? Okay. Now tell me, my friends, what is this 5%? Why we have done all this effort? Why we have done? So I was telling you, remember here, I was telling you that this bond has a coupon rate of 9.2%. This bond has a coupon rate of 9.2%. If you don't know this concept, what you will do is you will take this 9.2%, you will say this is my cost of debt, and this is the mistake you will do. So interest rate of the bond is not the cost of debt. What is the cost of debt? The market rate. Market rate. So we will say, okay, depending on these cash flows, I mean, market is ready to give you 1040 for a bond which will give you 1092 over next 1 year. Getting the story? See, I am trying to make it as easy as possible for you. I am trying to give you the logic. Market is saying we will give you 1040 right now. Give this bond to us. That's it. Go away. Right? So basically, this bond has a value of 1040 right now, although this bond will generate 1092 over next 1 year. Getting the story? It means if market value is 1040, it means this type of bond in the market is being traded having the rate of 5%. 5%. Getting the story? Right now. So this is called debt 5%. This is my cost of debt. So you cannot take 9.2% as the cost of debt. What you will take? You will take 5% as the cost of debt. Please write yes in the chat box if you got the difference between 9.2% and 5%. And why you will ignore 9.2% and why you will consider 5%. Getting it? Okay. So all of you got the point? Please write yes in the chat box. Very nice. So one thing is done, my friends. So congratulations, we have calculated the cost of debt. But this is not the final answer. Huh? We will do it 1 minus t. Remember, 1 minus 30% we have to do. Anyways, that we will do in Excel sheet later on. In a while, let me open the Excel sheet also. So I am solving here question number 2.4 for you. Okay. So the first question what we are doing is we need to calculate the cost of capital, right? And how to calculate the cost of capital? Basically, we need to know that how many sources of finance we have. So we know very well we have two sources of finance, bonds and common stock, right? And you will have total also, right? How much is the market value? When you are calculating the ratio, I mean how much is your bond value and how much is your common stock. So you take market value. This is also called market capitalization. What is this? Because if you remember last time they gave you themselves. Remember they said, I think they told you that the equity is 60% and the debt is 40%. Remember? They told you themselves. So when they are telling you themselves, no problem. But here they didn't tell you how much is equity, how much is debt. So we have to calculate. And when we have to calculate, you need to remember, make a note of it, that we will use market value, not book value. Book value means the value written in the balance sheet. Getting the story, everyone? So let me show you how you will get the market value of the bonds. So remember, how much is the par value of the bond? This you will ignore because that is the book value written in the balance sheet. How much is the market value of the bond? You will say 10,000 bonds are there and the market value is how much? 1040. Right? So 10,000 into 1040. This is called market value of the bonds, which you will use to calculate the ratio. We need the ratio, right? And then we need the cost also. Cost already we calculated for bond. Remember 5% just now we calculated. Okay. If you talk about common stock, how many shares you have? 2 million shares. Now 2 million shares. Again, the stock is currently selling for $14.8 per share. Can I take it? Very nice, I will take it. 2 million into 14.8 will give me the market value of the shares. If I total it, this is my total capital structure. Again, this is not written in the balance sheet, my friends. In the balance sheet, you will write par value of common stock. Please write yes in the chat box if you know this. In the balance sheet, we write par value or market value. In the balance sheet, what we write? We write par value, not market value, my friends. Market value we are calculating now to get the ratio. Can we get the ratio now? Very simple. This divided by this and this divided by this. So this is the ratio, my friends. 26% debt you have and 74% equity you have. Got the point. Now this is remaining. What's remaining? This is remaining. Once we get this, we can complete question number 1 easily. Okay, so let's go back and see what we have here in the equity area. They say, okay, you have 2 million shares. Now see, very important point. See what they are talking about. They are saying the stock is currently selling for 14.8. Very nice. The firm is expected to pay a dividend of dividend. Whenever they bring this here, dividend, they are telling you about dividend. So it should click in your mind that maybe they want me to use dividend growth model. Getting the story? What they are trying to give you? Dividend growth model. See, they are not saying anywhere. Maybe we will see. Okay, they say we will expected to pay dividend of 1.48 per share next year. This is the next year dividend. The dividend is expected to grow. Once they give you this word grow, this is confirmation that we have to use dividend growth model. Got the idea? Two things you need to search. One is dividend, which is given to you. Second, growth rate also given to you. So what model you will use? Dividend growth model. Okay, please write yes in the chat box if you got the strategy. How much is the growth rate? Constant rate. How much? 4% per year. It can be variable rate also, which we will discuss later on. Okay, there can be two, either constant rate or variable rate. In this question, we have constant rate per year in the foreseeable future. Very nice. And the tax rate is 30%. So my friends, now what we have to do? We have to use dividend growth model. Now how to use dividend growth model to calculate cost of equity? Let's see. We need to know the formula for this. I will write here the formula here, dividend growth model. Okay. So my friends, we need cost of equity. We write like this, KE. KE means cost of equity is equals to D1 divided by P0, P0 plus G plus, let me write like this, plus G. Small g means growth rate. Okay. So this is the formula to calculate cost of equity. We will see the logic in a while. What is the logic? So first of all, what is D1? D1 means the dividend of next year. Please note. Not means now. 0 means now. Remember in investment decisions we did. What is 0? 0 period means now. Right now. What is 1? Next year. So when I am saying D1 means dividend of next year. Got the point? What is P? P is price. Price means what? Share price. Very simple. I am not saying P1. Even I cannot say P1. I mean, I don't know what will be the share price next year. Getting the story? So why they wrote P0, P0, P0? Right now, how much is the share price? Please write yes in the chat box if you got the formula. Again, D1 means dividend of next year. P0 means share price right now. Plus G means growth rate. This will give you cost of equity. Cost of equity means how much return shareholders are demanding, how much return shareholders are expecting from you, my friends. Getting the story, everyone? Very nice. Let's see. Remember they told you how much was the dividend of the next year? It was 1.48. How much is the share price? It was 14.8. Let me show you again. Remember, it is 1.48. This is the dividend next year, and 14.8 is right now your share price. How much is the constant growth? 4%. Please note, this formula is for constant growth. Constant. If you have variable growth, there is separate working for that. We will do later on. Okay, inshallah. So how much is the growth rate, my friends? How much? 4%. Okay, so when you are writing in percentage, try to write like this, plus 0.04. 04 means 4%. So what do you think, my friends? Can you tell me, anyone? Please write yes in the, please write the answer in the chat box now. How much do you think this is divided by this? Is very simple. This divided by this, and then plus 0.04 will give me how much? 0.1 plus 0.04, 1.04, like this. I don't think so. Sorry, I have to write 0.1 plus 0.04, like this. See, I was showing you a mistake which you can do, because if you write here 14%, sometimes people they confuse it. I mean, they will add 14 and they will say 14.1%. I mean, sorry, they will take 4% from here and they will say 4.1%. Okay, many people I have seen doing like this. So to protect yourself against this coronavirus threat, this is a coronavirus threat, by the way, that when you use percentage instead of decimal places, so you have to use decimals to protect yourself. This is like sanitizer. Okay, very nice. So now you can convert it into percentage. Let's convert it. See, like this, 14%. Very nice. Please write yes in the chat box if you got 14%. So this I will write here 14%. Easy, difficult? Yes, my friends, easy or difficult? This is not easy, my friends. This is very easy. Very nice. I like it. Okay. So many people are saying very easy. Some people are silent. I don't know why. What happened to all of you? Don't sleep with open eyes, please. All of you, please write it. If it is difficult, tell me. Don't be shy. I mean, definitely this is the first time you are looking at this thing, dividend growth model and all these things. So let me know, I mean, if it is difficult for you. Because I tried to make it as simple as possible for you. This I would have done in 15 minutes, and I am doing for you the class for how many minutes now? This is around 43 minutes. So I am trying to make it easy for you, very easy for you. Okay, by the way, we have not yet completed question number 1. Question number 1 is the main one, by the way. Remaining all are very simple. So question number 1, let's go back and check what was question number 1. They said calculate weighted average cost of capital. Very simple. Now we can easily do it. So what we will do is, we will just multiply with the ratios. Very simple. Okay, but remember, for cost of debt, you will take 1 minus t. So just here, I am writing, okay, this into 70%, because 1 minus t, right? Sorry, this into 0.7. Wait, 0.7 will come how much? Yeah, it was fine. I mean, it was not in percentage only. So this into 0.7. This is the answer. Got the point, everyone? Okay, please write yes in the chat box if you got the point. So I will not use 5%, I will use 3.5% instead of 5% because it is 1 minus t. I can write here for you 1 minus t. Okay. So from here you can also relate not applicable because only debt is 1 minus t, not equity. Okay. So you can say that, bracket open, this into this bracket close plus this into this bracket close. So this is the answer. How much? 11.27%. Okay, again you don't have Excel sheet allowed in exams. You have to do all this in your working paper and then you will just copy paste on the screen. Why do we use okay, now see, this is called dividend growth model. This is on the assumption, that the dividends will be constant. That's why I am using the growth rate. Growth rate, of course, will be for next year or current year. I mean, if you want to say, I will grow next year. I mean, I will grow in future, right? How you can grow in present? You cannot grow in present, I think. So that's the answer for your question. Getting the story? So I mean, there is no growth rate for current year. Growth rate is always for the upcoming period, right? Maybe next month you can say. So this is the assumption of this is constant dividend growth model. There is another model. It is called variable dividend growth model that we will do later on. Okay. Now see here, my friends. I hope till here everyone is okay. This I am making it green. So this is the first answer. What is the second question here? Referring to project A through F, this is very simple. I mean, you will just see how much is the NPV starting from the highest till the lowest. And you will say, okay, these are the classifications. And let's see, I mean, just I will ask you the top one and the lowest one. Which is the top one? Tell me in the chat box. Yeah, my name, right? E, Imad. So see, E. So project E is the highest one because it has 22,500 NPV. And which is the lowest one? F or D? D, very nice. I hope you know the minus thing. So the more the minus, the more bad. Okay. Because minus 900 is more closer to 0. So D is more worst than F. Anyway, so the last one is D. So what you will say? You will say, okay, we will accept all the projects except D and F. But you can tell the priority also that, okay, first we go for E, then we will go for A, then we will go for C, then we will go for B. Like this, you can make a chart. Okay, but again, remember I told you in the introduction already that why we use NPV. I already explained you in the start, so I'm not explaining again. Okay. Now what is 3? Please write yes in the chat box if question number 2 is okay with you. This is your homework. I'm writing here. You can also take reference from your official answer. Very simple question. Okay. Now if I go for 3, project X, state whether the firm should use its no. Why? Let's see. The firm is also evaluating another proposed capital investment project X that is in a completely different line of business, my friends. Completely. Remember I told you we will read the scenario. If the scenario will tell us same line of business, no problem. If they say different line of business, impossible. We cannot use the company's cost of capital, which is how much? This 11.27% we cannot use to evaluate project X because it is completely different line of business. There are different risks. Okay. The project is expected to be financed from the existing capital structure. No problem. I mean, I don't care. This is to confuse you, to trap you. Because they say, okay, it is expected to be financed from existing capital structure, so that you say, yeah, we can use the current cost of capital, no problem. Getting it, everyone? So this line will not make you select the existing cost of capital. I mean, I don't care whether you take new money or you use existing money. The main thing is The new project is in different line of business or not? It is. So we cannot use current hurdle rate. Does not fall within any capital rationing restrictions. It means you have a lot of money, no problem. The following forecasted net after tax cash flows, they gave you net after tax cash flows. I hope you know this very well. We have done a lot about it in investment decisions. So they gave you cash flows. Remember, year 0 minus 1, 2, 3, 4. Can you calculate NPV? Write yes in the chat box. You should be able to calculate NPV now. Okay. How to calculate NPV? Remember, you go to the present value table. You will see, okay, present value table, year 1 how much, year 2 how much, 3 how much, 4 how much. Multiply with the cash flows, you will get the answer. And then minus 200,000, you will get the NPV. Anyways, what I have to tell you exactly, in this requirement number 3, we have done it. It says, can you use it? No, we cannot use it because it's a completely different line of business. There are different risks. So my friends, let's go to requirement number 4. They say, two firms have similar operations to project X, and we got to know that the beta is 2. Risk-free 10%, premium 15%. You know already, right? CAPM model. Please write in please write in the chat box. How much is the hurdle rate based on these figures? How much is the hurdle rate based on these figures? Yes, please. Remember the formula? Risk-free rate plus market minus risk-free rate into beta. Excellent. Anyone else? So basically what you will do is, you will say, okay, the hurdle rate is, hurdle rate means, the rate at which you will calculate the NPV for this project. Here, risk-free rate plus market rate minus risk-free rate into beta equity. Okay, remember I told you beta is not for debt, beta is for equity. So many of you are telling 20%. I hope all of you will get it. If not, let me know later on, I will explain you. So the answer will come 20%. Okay, because we have done it already, I don't want to do it again and again, to save time. So you can do it. Now see, 20%, this is the rate you will look for in your present value table. Year 1, year 2, year 3, year 4, you will get your factors and you will multiply with these figures which are given to you above. Here, these ones, which I am giving you. You just calculate for me. So the year 1 will come 0.833. Okay. Year 2 will come 0.694. Year 3 will come 0.579. And year 4 will come 0.482. Okay, these you will find in the present value table. If you go 20% column and 1, 2, 3, 4, you will look like that. Okay, so do it for me. I mean, quickly multiply them and minus 200,000 and tell me how much is coming NPV. This is the revision of investment decisions, by the way. I am not doing anything new for you. That's why I am doing like this, because you are supposed to calculate it by now. Okay, and this is why revision is very important. I am telling you again and again. So you will multiply 60,000 with 0.833 plus 80,000 into 0.694 plus 80,000 into 0.579 plus 80,000 into 0.482. This total is called present value of future cash flows, because these are future cash flows, 1, 2, 3, 4. Now this is not net present value. How to get net present value? You will minus initial investment, which is how much? 200,000. Okay, so tell me how much is coming. Very nice. Minus 9620. This should be accepted or rejected. Sorry. Rejected. Why? Because I told you in the start. Now see, it doesn't mean this project will give me a loss of 9620. No, this project will give me less amount 9620 as compared to other projects which are using the same hurdle rate. This is the logic. Remember, huh? So very nice. I mean, you will say this is minus and we will not accept it. That's it. This is the answer. Please write yes in the chat box if everything is okay till now. Now see question number 5. What is question number 5? They say in the past the firm has typically, I told you, I mean in the start we discussed it, payback, and they say less than 3 years. Very nice. So we have to calculate. Very simple. Now see, if you start from here, 60 I will recover in the first year, 80 I will recover in year 2. Total how much? If you total it, it will become 140, right? 140 minus 200. Remaining how much I need? Remaining 60 I need. 60 from where I need? Which year I need 60? Third year. Very simple. So if I need 60 from the third year, it means my payback is somewhere between 2 and 3 years. Getting the story? But how much exactly? Very simple. So what you will do is basically you will say here that I'm doing here for you. So 2 you know already, plus 60 I need from how much? 80. So how much is 60 divided by 80? 0.75. It means the payback period is 2.75 years. So you will recover your money within 2.75 years. Hearing the story, everyone? So based on the company policy of less than 3 years, we can accept it. So you will say, okay, based on the firm's payback period threshold, the firm can accept it. That's it. Don't give your logics in question number 5, by the way. Okay, because your logics will come in 6. Question number 6, they say, give one reason why you think payback period is not a good method. Will give us a optimal decision. So you will say already we have computed in requirement for NPV is negative for this project. And payback has a limitation that it will not consider the cash flows after the money has been recovered. I mean, in this calculation of 2.75, did we look at year 4? Did we look at year 4? No, right? I mean, I don't care there is any year 4 or not. I don't care any year 5 is there or not, right or not? So my friend, this is the problem of payback. So payback is a good method, I mean, but it is not standing anywhere near NPV analysis. So you will say NPV is negative and we cannot accept this project because even payback is within the threshold, but this project is not worthwhile for the company. This is the answer for question number 6. And this is the conclusion of this interesting essay question. Okay.